Familiar phrase, I am the good shepherd. I know my sheep, and mine know me. But what does all that really mean? How do we translate that into our lives? And what difference does it make in the way I live my life? To know the shepherd knows me, and that I know the shepherd. There's a story told about people of the Andes, the lowland and highland people, the ones who live higher up on the mountain and those who lived very low in the valley. It is told of a tale where there was often contention, a war between those on the top and those in the valley. And so it was at one of their contentious times that those from the top came down and raided the village. And in their anger and in their plunder, they stole one of the children, kidnapped them, and took them back up the mountain. Well, of course, the lowlanders wanted to get the child back, to retrieve what was theirs, one of their own. And so they gathered the best and brightest, the clever and strongest of their warriors, and they set off. But the lowlanders were uncertain, unsure of the path, unaware of how really to climb the heights. They looked, they searched, they tried different paths. None of them led them through a way they could scale the mountain. They tried other ways of climbing, several methods. All of them failed. So it was after about a week that they were discouraged and they would have to disband their search. And as they were coming down from where they were, they suddenly saw off in a distance someone coming toward them, coming off of the mountain. They paused to wait to see who this solitary figure was. And then they recognized it was the woman of the village, the woman whose son had been taken. On her back was the child. Stunned, these great warriors, these hardy men, looked at her and said, how is it possible that you were able to do what none of us could do? How is it possible you found the path, you scaled the mountain, or you achieved what you wanted? How is it possible? She merely smiled at them, and then she said, it wasn't your child. It wasn't your child. I am the good shepherd. I know my sheep, and mine know me. When there is a connection, there is life. And that's what the Lord is reminding us. And in those connections that we make with one another, we know they are life-giving. And that connection, those gifts of life we give to each other, not even death, nothing breaks that bond. Once we have established that connection, once we have that life flowing between us, nothing ends that. And that's a good reminder to us. So it says to us that those connections we have are very important. They are life-giving. Now, some of the connections are what I would say mutual. They are connections that are between spouses, the life they offer each other. A connection that is between good friends, because they are life-giving connections. They enrich us and bring back something within us. They are the connections between the wise and the witty to one another. But there are unequal ones as well. They are the ones between a parent and a child, the life they give to the child in the connection they offer. The connection between a teacher and a student for the knowledge they impart and the life they give. It could be the connection of an elder, a wise one, whether it is a grandparent, an aunt, an uncle, or a cousin to the younger. Those connections bring us life, and they offer us so much. No wonder that the Good Shepherd says, I know mine, and mine know me. Life is given in that connection. But there is something else that happens in that connection. There is something more that happens in just life. It is also that once we have that connection in life, we also have an understanding of our value. We gain a sense of who we are in the connections we have, the life that we've been given. So when someone loves me, when someone is connected with me, when someone is committed to me, I have a sense of purpose and value I do not have without the connection. So those who live lives unconnected or unrelated find their lives lacking with real meaning, or not seemingly themselves having much purpose or worth. Being connected gives me worth and value. I know that. Now, on another side, though, being connected, giving life, also brings with it sacrifice, doesn't it? Because when you're in pain, if I'm connected with you, I feel that pain. When you make bad decisions or you are having a tough time, I suffer along with you. Sometimes I have to hurt as you do because I'm connected with you. I have that same bond with you. I have that life with you. So I gain the worth. I have that understanding of value, but I also suffer along with you. You see, the good news, though, because it seems that maybe at first, maybe I don't want to be connected then. But the good news is our God is telling us, I am that shepherd that's connected in the same way with you. I'm connected and give you life. So that means, as we have experienced on a personal level, that means that our God gives us purpose, shows us value. Because he gives us life, he says you're worth it. You're something. You're more than just another person in the crowd. You're the daughter and you're the son. He imparts to us value and worth, just as we do to one another, but in a much richer and deeper way. For it is our God loving us, our God connected with us. But in the same way, he suffers along with us, not distant from us at all, but really aware of our needs, our suffering. When we are discouraged, depressed, when we are anxious and fearful, our God suffers along with us and would want us to lift up ourselves so that he could heal us. He could guide us like the shepherd out of that suffering, out of that anxiety, away from that brokenness. That's why the good shepherd is such a good image. He suffers along with us and gives us value because of it. So when you and I begin to doubt, do we have value? Do we have worth? Am I really that good? I've done some terrible things. I've sinned against God. I've not followed the law. He would remind us, I've given you value and worth in my connection with you, in my touching of you. Because you're born of that water in the Spirit, you never stop being the daughter and son. You're always of value to me. And when you and I feel that our God is distant and in our suffering and all the things that happen, when our life seems to be falling apart and we feel more shattered and broken than together and whole, he reminds us, but I have been there to call you back, to heal your woundedness, to be with you. So when you and I feel that people look at us and they wonder, how could God love you? How could God care for you? Because you know all your sins. And others look and judge us and say, why would God bother with them? They are very expendable. They are not very worthwhile. When God would make us whole and others would keep us broken. When you and I feel that others are looking at us as if we have nothing at all to offer, then just remember what God might tell them. We are always valuable, always worthwhile. Why? He would say the same thing that woman said. Because they weren't your children. That's why you didn't care for them, and I did.